transforming my small garden with scraps, easy DIY makeover that works. Ladies and gentlemen, today I invite you on a journey that blends creativity, sustainability, and modern lifestyle aspirations. A journey into the world of small garden renovation. Imagine standing in front of a modest, perhaps neglected corner of your home. A patch of soil, a few discarded materials, maybe even broken furniture waiting to be thrown away. Now imagine transforming that seemingly ordinary space into a captivating garden retreat, using scraps and creativity and guided by the principles of modern architectural design. This is not merely about planting flowers or arranging stones. It is about rethinking how we interact with our living environments. It is about merging functionality, aesthetics, and ecological awareness to create spaces that nurture our well-being. And yes, it is about turning scraps, materials that many people would overlook, into powerful design statements. Over the last 2 decades, architectural and landscape design has shifted dramatically. We have seen the rise of minimalism, the embrace of sustainable architecture, and the flourishing of biophilic design. In today's housing landscape, especially in urban and suburban environments, space has become one of the most precious resources. People are no longer seeking vast yards. Instead, they crave intimacy, multifunctionality, and beauty that fits their lifestyle. Small gardens are no longer secondary spaces. They are extensions of our living rooms, dining areas, and even our offices. Why is this shift happening? The answer lies in our evolving relationship with nature and our homes. Globalization, urbanization, and the digital era have accelerated our need for grounding spaces. We spend countless hours surrounded by screens, digital notifications, and synthetic materials. Gardens, especially small ones we can nurture ourselves, offer a counterbalance. They provide sensory experiences, the sound of rustling leaves, the fragrance of herbs, the sight of greenery. These are not luxuries anymore. They are psychological necessities. From the perspective of design trends, one of the strongest movements shaping our homes and gardens today is sustainability. Architects and designers are now turning to recycled, reclaimed, and repurposed materials, not just as cost-saving measures, but as philosophical statements. Using scraps in garden renovation is part of a much larger story, one where creativity meets responsibility. Each reused plank of wood or repurposed ceramic pot carries with it a narrative of transformation. And when integrated thoughtfully, these materials give small gardens a unique personality that cannot be replicated by store-bought, mass-produced items. Think of it this way: a small garden renovated with scraps is not merely a personal hobby. It is an act of storytelling. It is about embedding your environment with history, intention, and a sense of resilience. And that is precisely why such gardens have become highly relevant in contemporary architectural discourse. Just like houses are designed with styles ranging from modernist to traditional, gardens also follow recognizable design frameworks. In recent years, trends have emerged that specifically cater to compact outdoor spaces. Some of the most influential include minimalist Zen gardens inspired by Japanese traditions, which rely on stones, gravel, water features, and carefully pruned plants. Vertical gardens and green walls where wooden pallets, old shelves, or even metal grids are repurposed into lush living canvases. Eco-industrial styles that embrace raw and recycled materials like old bricks, rusted steel sheets, or salvaged wood, paired with greenery to create striking contrasts. Urban cottage gardens that maximize space with layers of flowers, herbs, and edibles, often using old teapots or crates as planters. And multifunctional courtyards designed to serve as morning yoga corners, coffee spots, and evening lounges, all achieved with scrap-based furniture and clever repurposing. Each of these trends highlights a deeper truth. Small gardens today are not about limitations, but about possibilities. Constraints on size force us to become more intentional and more inventive. Instead of sprawling lawns and repetitive shrubbery, we see curated experiences, layered textures, and surprising focal points. But beyond trends, there is also the human element, the personal connection. Renovating a small garden from scraps is an act of intimacy. You are literally reshaping your environment with your own hands, infusing your personal identity into every corner. And because scraps are never uniform, each design choice becomes unique. A broken tile may become a mosaic stepping stone. An old ladder may become a vertical herb rack. A worn-out barrel may transform into a rustic water feature. These transformations are not just physical, they are symbolic. They remind us that beauty can be born out of imperfection. Another driving factor behind this movement is cost efficiency. Homeowners are increasingly budget conscious, especially in uncertain economic climates. But rather than seeing a limited budget as a constraint, they are using it as an opportunity for creativity. Scrap-based renovations demonstrate that you do not need large investments to achieve striking design results. In fact, resourcefulness has become a badge of honor in the design community. Architects and influencers alike celebrate projects that maximize impact with minimal resources, reinforcing the idea that design is more about vision than about expensive materials. We must also consider the ecological and social implications. Every piece of scrap reused in a garden is one less item ending up in landfills. Every DIY project undertaken fosters a sense of empowerment and learning. Communities often grow around these practices, with neighbors exchanging materials, tips, and inspiration. In this sense, the renovation of small gardens aligns with the global push towards circular economies and sustainable urban living. Looking forward, the trajectory of small garden design points toward an increasing fusion of technology and nature. Smart irrigation systems, solar-powered lighting, and modular, eco-friendly furniture will continue to rise, yet authenticity and handmade elements will remain central. The future of garden design is not sterile or overly automated. Instead, it is hybrid, a dialogue between innovation and tradition, between precision engineering and imperfect scraps. What does your small garden say about you? How can scraps and overlooked materials become not just components, but protagonists in your living space? These are the questions that open the door to practical strategies, design techniques, and case studies that bring these ideas into reality. When we begin to translate ideas into practice, the question arises, how do we actually transform scraps into meaningful design elements within a small garden? The answer lies in a combination of architectural thinking, creativity, and an understanding of trends that are reshaping outdoor living today. It is not enough to collect random pieces of wood, metal, or stone. The essence of design is in orchestration. Just as an architect draws lines to shape a building, the gardener designer composes materials, plants, and textures into a cohesive vision. The first principle is spatial organization. Small gardens demand precision because every square meter matters. Rather than seeing a small area as a limitation, treat it as a canvas where every object carries weight. Scraps can serve as structural dividers, focal points, or subtle details. An old wooden beam once discarded may become the defining edge of a raised planter. Leftover ceramic tiles may be broken intentionally and used to form a mosaic pathway that guides the eye and foot through the garden. Even a piece of corrugated metal can be reshaped into a sculptural backdrop for climbing plants, adding both verticality and texture. Another principle is layering. Architects and interior designers use layers to add depth and richness to otherwise limited spaces. The same applies outdoors. Scraps can help achieve layering by creating different levels and planes. Imagine using reclaimed bricks to construct a tiered herb garden, where each layer holds a different plant species, creating a miniature topography. Broken clay pots can be arranged into a cascading water feature, where the sound of flowing water masks the noise of the city beyond. Layering in this sense is not merely visual. It engages multiple senses, making the small garden feel more expansive than it actually is. Equally important is the concept of rhythm and repetition. Modern garden trends emphasize flow and continuity. Scraps often come in irregular shapes and sizes, but by repeating materials in a pattern, you can create visual harmony. For example, mismatched planks of wood can be cut into uniform sizes and used as stepping stones. Old bottles painted in a cohesive color palette can line a pathway or form a playful boundary. The repeated use of certain scrap materials ties the space together, preventing it from feeling cluttered or chaotic. Light and shadow are also powerful design tools. As homes adopt larger windows and open floor plans, the line between indoors and outdoors blurs. Gardens, especially small ones, are no longer separate zones. They are visual extensions of interior living spaces. Scrap-based structures, when positioned thoughtfully, can cast shadows that change throughout the day, adding dynamism to the garden. An old metal screen perforated with irregular holes becomes a canvas for sunlight. As the day progresses, it throws shifting patterns of light onto the ground and surrounding walls, creating a living artwork. A critical aspect of current design trends is sustainability, not only in materials, but also in function. Small gardens are increasingly expected to serve practical roles. They are not just ornamental, they are productive, ecological, and restorative. Scraps can support this by becoming the backbone of functional installations. Wooden pallets, for instance, can be converted into vertical planters for herbs and vegetables, maximizing yield in minimal space. Rainwater barrels can be disguised as rustic garden features, crafted from old drums or large ceramic vessels. Even discarded windows can be repurposed into cold frames for seedlings, allowing urban gardeners to extend their growing season. Technology further enhances these transformations. The integration of smart design elements into small gardens is becoming mainstream. Solar panels crafted into garden lighting, sensors that monitor soil moisture, and modular seating systems that can be rearranged for different activities all align with the philosophy of future-proof design. Scraps, when combined with technology, create not only a sustainable garden but also one that adapts to contemporary lifestyles. For example, an old wooden spool may be redesigned as a solar charging table, where one can both enjoy a cup of tea and charge a device while sitting in the garden. Beyond the practical, there is also a strong aesthetic trend towards storytelling. Every piece of scrap carries history. Incorporating them into a garden is like embedding fragments of memory into the space. A rusted bicycle frame may become a trellis for flowering vines, symbolizing the passage of time. A collection of mismatched stones might be arranged into a seating circle, evoking communal traditions. In this way, the garden becomes more than a functional space. It becomes an archive of experiences and values. Global influences are shaping how small gardens are being designed as well. The Scandinavian approach emphasizes clean lines, muted colors, and functional beauty, often blending scrap wood with pale stone and metal for a calm, minimalist look. The Mediterranean style favors terracotta, reclaimed ceramic, and lush aromatic plants, using scraps to add warmth and texture. Meanwhile, Asian design traditions continue to inspire balance and simplicity, where scraps may be arranged to evoke natural landscapes in miniature form. Each cultural influence offers lessons on how to rethink the use of discarded materials in ways that resonate emotionally with those who inhabit the space. Another trend to note is adaptability. With living spaces becoming more flexible, small gardens must respond to different needs throughout the day or across seasons. Scrap-based furniture and features lend themselves to this adaptability. Old crates may be stacked to form modular seating that doubles as storage. Repurposed fabric canopies provide shade in summer but can be removed to allow sunlight in winter. By designing with scraps, homeowners often discover modularity and flexibility as natural byproducts, aligning with the larger movement toward adaptable, resilient living spaces. Community influence cannot be overlooked. Around the world, neighborhoods are rediscovering the social potential of small gardens. Scrap-based renovations often encourage collaboration. Friends and neighbors contribute unused materials, exchange design ideas, or even help with construction. These shared projects transform gardens into nodes of social connection, reinforcing bonds that are often weakened by modern urban living. A bench made from discarded timber may carry not only aesthetic charm, but also the memory of the afternoon it was built with neighbors. As we reflect on these ideas, it becomes clear that the renovation of a small garden from scraps is not just a trend. It is part of a broader cultural and architectural shift. It embodies the merging of design innovation, environmental responsibility, and personal expression. It challenges us to see value where others see waste, to craft meaning from the overlooked, and to bring nature into even the smallest corners of our lives. In shaping a garden this way, we are not only designing a space, but also cultivating a philosophy of living, one that embraces resilience, celebrates imperfection, and fosters connection. Each repurposed item tells a story. Each design choice reflects a value, and the resulting garden stands as both sanctuary and statement. It speaks not only to the present moment, but also to a future where design, sustainability, and human creativity walk hand in hand. As we continue the journey of understanding small garden renovation with scraps, it is important to move beyond theory and trends into the lived experience of spaces that have been transformed. The beauty of this approach is that it can be seen not only in individual homes, but also in broader design practices, influencing how architects and landscape professionals think about future living environments. The first key to achieving a successful transformation is vision. Vision allows homeowners and designers to see potential where others see waste. It is the mindset that transforms a pile of discarded bricks into the foundation for a new seating area, or that recognizes an old window frame as a future vertical planter. Vision is cultivated through exposure to design references, awareness of material possibilities, and the courage to experiment. This mindset has become central to contemporary architectural philosophy. Design is not simply about consuming new resources, but about reframing what already exists. Once vision is established, the next step is experimentation. Small gardens are ideal laboratories for design innovation because their scale makes them manageable. A small corner can be redesigned multiple times, evolving with the needs and creativity of the owner. Scraps allow experimentation with minimal cost and minimal waste. For instance, an old ladder might first serve as a trellis, later as a shelving unit, and eventually as the base for a hanging light fixture. This iterative process is aligned with modern design thinking, which values prototyping and adaptation over static perfection. Functionality is the third cornerstone. Every element in a small garden must justify its presence, especially when space is scarce. Scraps bring unique opportunities for multifunctionality. A single piece of salvaged timber can act as seating, storage, and decorative surface. A broken clay pot may house herbs while also forming part of a sculptural arrangement. By prioritizing function alongside beauty, the garden avoids becoming cluttered and instead evolves into a carefully curated environment that feels both practical and elegant. Integration with the home is another essential layer. Modern design no longer treats gardens as separate zones, but as extensions of interior living. This means that the colors, textures, and materials chosen for the garden should harmonize with the home's architecture. Scraps, when thoughtfully selected, can bridge this connection. A piece of wood reclaimed from a renovation project inside the house might reappear outdoors as a bench, creating continuity between spaces. Old kitchen tiles can find new life as garden mosaics, weaving indoor memories into the outdoor fabric of the home. The result is a seamless dialogue between the house and its garden, reinforcing identity and unity. The sensory dimension of design must also be emphasized. A garden is not only seen, but also felt, smelled, and heard. Scraps can enhance these sensory experiences in unexpected ways. A rusted metal sheet might produce a soft resonance in the wind. Pieces of glass embedded into a wall can catch sunlight, scattering fragments of color across the garden floor. Reclaimed wood carries with it the scent of age and weathering, deepening the atmosphere. Such sensory layers make the garden more immersive and emotionally resonant, aligning with contemporary trends that prioritize experience as much as aesthetics. There is also the matter of symbolism. Modern architectural discourse often emphasizes the narratives embedded in design. Scraps are powerful symbols of transformation, resilience, and creativity. Their presence in a garden tells a story not only of sustainability, but also of personal values. A bench made from old-school desks may carry memories of childhood. A pathway lined with salvaged stones from a demolished building may preserve a piece of local history. These stories enrich the garden, making it not just a space, but a living text that reflects the identity of its creator. Looking toward the future, one of the strongest directions in small garden design is adaptability to climate challenges. As cities face rising temperatures, changing rainfall patterns, and shrinking green spaces, small gardens are taking on new roles. They are becoming microclimate moderators, biodiversity havens, and water management systems. Scraps are crucial here too, as they can be used to construct permeable paving, rainwater channels, or shade structures. The garden of the future will not only be beautiful, but also resilient, and scraps will be key in building that resilience affordably and imaginatively. Technology will play a role as well. We are already seeing the integration of smart systems into garden design, app-controlled irrigation, solar-powered devices, and modular furniture. Yet the future will likely see deeper integration. Imagine using scraps to build the casings for small solar panels, or embedding sensors into repurposed materials. The contrast between advanced technology and humble scraps creates a fascinating aesthetic tension while also emphasizing sustainability. At the social level, gardens created from scraps symbolize a rejection of throwaway culture. They align with the rising global movement towards circular economies, where waste is reimagined as resource. By practicing scrap-based renovation, individuals participate in a larger cultural statement that design should not exploit endlessly, but should adapt, reuse, and renew. This resonates with younger generations in particular, who are deeply aware of environmental issues and who view sustainable design not as an option, but as an obligation. What emerges from all of this is a vision of the garden as a personal manifesto. Each object, each plant, each fragment of scrap tells the world something about its maker. It says, here is someone who values creativity over consumption, sustainability over waste, individuality over conformity. A small garden renovated with scraps becomes more than an outdoor room. It becomes a reflection of philosophy, values, and aspirations. To walk into such a garden is to step into a dialogue between past and future, between nature and human hands, between imperfection and beauty. It is a reminder that design is not about grandeur, but about intention. It shows us that with imagination, even the smallest, most overlooked spaces can become profound expressions of style and meaning. And it affirms that the trends shaping architecture and gardens today, sustainability, adaptability, storytelling, and sensory immersion, are not temporary fashions, but enduring pathways toward a more thoughtful and responsible way of living. In the end, the renovation of a small garden from scraps is both an act of design and an act of philosophy. It proves that creativity thrives in constraints, that beauty can arise from waste, and that our homes, no matter their size, can become sanctuaries of resilience and inspiration. Through vision, experimentation, and purpose, the future of small gardens shines not in uniform perfection, but in the unique and surprising elegance born from scraps.